Welcome back to Night Mine, friends. And hey, listen, if you're a constant viewer of mine, have a seat. I know you might be a bit shaky right now. If you're new here, hold on a moment. I gotta chat with the usual visitors for just a second. This subgenre, mascot horror. I know it's not like me, at first glance. Our very brief brushes with anything like it have been due to absolute excellency in nonfiction achievement that only sort of runs across that subgenre categorization and defies tropes. Shipwreck 64, Underwater Wonders. I did that one on Night Mine Live, but I'll come back to it here soon for a deeper exploration. You get it? Deeper. Underwater Wonders. Usually, something like Giggleland would appear on my radar and I'd just blink and let it pass, if not for two things. Its animated ad rollout is actually dedicated and quality, and stylized period animation error work is always a way to get me. And second, but more importantly, for an ARG production meant to build hype around an incoming Steam release, this team isn't playing around, and I experienced their excitement going through it, which compelled me to go further, and the revelations that it comes with. I've looked at what's come out in the pre-launch phase, I've looked at all of it, and seriously, this team means it. The levels of "you thought you knew what this was" keep increasing as you go on, to the point of so much enjoyment and respect that I feel I've got to do this topic tonight for our visits. Because if they mean it enough to do this now, maybe the upcoming Steam game it includes will be awesome? Unanticipated? Mold-breaking? Look, mascot horror is oversaturated, full of tropes and milked to the top of the pail. Everybody knows it. Starry-eyed Scott Cawthon wannabes smelled as much money as they wanted if they just played the right angles and developed entire multi-chapter systems with constant merchandise rollouts, where every slice of the theme park requires its own ticket purchase. You know it, I know it, your mother who lives on Instagram and only checks out beauty product reviews somehow knows it. And I think the Giggleland developers know it too, and designed with that in mind, and the thought of it gives me such a Cheshire Cat grin. I'm inclined to give this project its moment to show us what it can do and who it is. And after seeing what's built so far, I'm making the informed choice of buying the ticket and going in knowing something the early detractors don't. It's spoken to me, and I like what I'm hearing. So, wanna get in on the ground floor? Let's start with Giggleland's premiere, a YouTube ad that played on several channels that have to do with, surprise, ARG and internet horror exploration, including my own, according to what I've read about its rollouts.
Welcome to Giggleland! I'm Elliot. And I'm Ella. And we're happy you're here. But before you head into the park, there are some rules you must know first.
There's rules? I thought this place was fun.
It is fun, Ella, but you can't have fun if you're not being safe. Rule number 1. Stay out of areas you cannot enter. If you see this sign, that means you have to stay away.
Oh, but what if I want to know what's inside?
Well, I'll tell you. These areas are filled with machinery that helps keep the park running. You don't want the park to break down, do you?
I guess not.
Rule number 2. You must be the appropriate height to ride the rides. If your head doesn't reach the arm, that means you can't ride.
That's not fair!
Remember, this is for your safety, Ella. Rule number 3. If there's a hat in the park, follow and get out.
Hey, what happened to the lights?
Rule number 4.
Elliot, what's going on?
Don't be afraid. There's no reason to fear us.
Elliot!
Rule number 5. If you feel a panic setting in, remember to take deep breaths.
Someone stop him! Please, Elliot, stop!
Rule number 6. Don't close your eyes, or you'll miss the best part.
Tropey? Yeah, it's got the tropes. Cute child's media portrayal, setup played straight despite dipping into obvious threatening material out of the genre, presentation of monsters aspects way too early, and everything about the sense of something being disturbing. YouTube horror's favorite buzzword for 3 years running, laid on as thick as the butter I pour on my popcorn at the movie theater. Because of course this is popcorn, but that animation and voice work is delightful and evocative of cartoons for young kids seen in the early 2000s. This top comment on the video hits the target dead center. Mascot horror has become so common that nobody thought this was a cutesy animation the first time seeing it. The idea presented is pretty straightforward. You're safe at Giggleland as long as you don't go looking in staff areas or ignoring hazard situations, because someone in a mascot costume might abduct you and rip out your eyeballs or give you the Joker's laughing gas. Hey, is that shot of the Elliot mascot in the doorway a little purple-coated? Actually, all of Elliot is pretty purple-coated. I know cats wearing purple giving presentations in horror is a shot I shouldn't be taking in most circumstances, but in this subgenre context, I'm gonna have a little fun with it. I need to address the glitches briefly. Lots of text there, but it's actually not important. To explain why, if I can direct you here to the video description, we have my age-old nemesis binary code, run it through the decoder, and we have a Discord server for Giggleland. Joining means agreeing to the rules, of course. We have a peculiarity in acknowledging the ARG aspect. The cartoons produced by KMW aired years ago. You won't find any hidden information relevant to Giggleland in them today, especially if they glitch or show errors. It's an odd inclusion, but frame-by-frame study of the media makes this make sense. The sweeping majority of it is flavor effects with text that you can't even properly discern for true meaning. My guess is that the game runners are not happy with the choices made in including them. I think that there's a possibility of edits to these videos coming later to better reflect Giggleland's adventure and the team's intention. Take it as law from the Game Master representative, along with what else is noted in the guide about what's out of game. Forget parsing text inside the glitch effects. Note the glitches as the prominent thing. The text is irrelevant. Everything we're about to go over is actually in-game. The rules inspire us to check out the website, and there is a channel with official links. I believe these were meant to be found organically, and I know one immediate connection for one of them. If you go to the Steam page, you'll find the game developers are listed as KMW and a YouTube video ID, a first in game development history and probably YouTube history. If we check out the YouTube video that helped develop this game, we get Elliot Ella Episode 3 2010.avi.
Elliot! Come on and help me already!
Oh, alright, I'm coming! I'm sorry, Ella. I must have lost track of time. Wow! I didn't realize there were so many weeds.
No! You're doing it all wrong! Here, watch this. If you pull it out too quickly, you won't actually pull the root out. You need to be careful and firm, like this.
Wow, Ella, you're really strong!
Oh, I know you can be strong too. Just remember What do you jerks want?
Looks like somebody dropped this.
Hey, that's mine!
Time to play cat in the middle. You think you'll be famous one day? As if. Oh.
Elliot, we need to remove the weeds from the garden.
No problem, Mr. T. Ella really helped me out. Where is Ella? Hey, Ella!
This is a lot more interesting, right? So here we have Ella in the position of power and influence, with Elliot dreaming of a future in which he's in the role we saw for Giggleland's ad. Notice the theme between both videos, though. There's computer machinery malfunction occurring in a sequence involving Elliot that puts him in a threatening stance, and then kids go missing. The most obvious idea we can draw when it's this subgenre is animatronics gone haywire, right? An Elliot animatronic that goes on the loose and snaps, but we'll need better evidence to make a claim like that, especially because the first video showed that it's kind of a mascot costume as opposed to an animatronic. You can see the stitching along the side of the head. The hint about avoiding staff areas in the first video to ensure the proper function of machinery gives us a reason to lean in that direction, though. We've also got the introduction of an adult character speaking to Elliot here, Mr. T. In the video description for this upload, we have more binary code and an instruction, base 64 plus PDF, and we're going to get to that. But let's go back to the Steam page for a moment. There's something here related to the ideas of a malfunctioning Elliot I want to bring up. As with most Steam releases, there's a trailer video in the first slot of the media preview carousel. That's the ad that's played. We've seen it. The rest are screenshots from the game. The area in Giggleland we've already seen at night. A trip through the maintenance tunnel reminiscent of the first video, a Ferris wheel, and then a character-actor space for Elliot mascots. There's a little girl back here, our playable character, approaching the mirror. In the next image, we see her again, looking more directly into the mirror. And then there's a third shot here, exactly the same position, but with a menu pulled up and two key differences. The Elliot mascot has now appeared in the background, lurking in the dark, and in the lower left corner, we have the development console issuing a bunch of warnings in red text, similar to some of the glitching sequences in the previous videos. Zoom in on those warnings. Info. Refer to the system documentation for parameter details, admin.giggleland. Warning. Detected unexpected behavior during idle state. Event triggered outside expected parameters. Error. Invalid model spawn detected. Output, invalid model spawn, model ID null. Error, unregistered model instantiated at position. Warning, issue flagged as P1, critical. Please submit findings via report tool. Do you understand what this means? That Elliot model in the background shouldn't be there. It spawned during the idle state. It popped up while it was paused. The ideas of glitches related to Elliot may not be hinting at an animatronic at all in universe. The game itself may be corrupted in the way he behaves, which I actually really like, and I respect it a lot as a fresh idea in a mascot horror game. I really hope this interpretation's correct. As for the rest of what's on Steam, here's the run-through of the game. Welcome to Giggleland! Join Toli on her very special day at the park as she searches for her missing father. Explore our wonderful attractions, meet our ever-smiling staff, and experience the magic that makes Giggleland the happiest place in the world. Just remember, every guest must follow the rules. The management is very particular about that. Navigate through themed areas filled with colorful characters and hidden passages, each holding pieces of the truth. Solve intricate puzzles throughout the park. After all, good children follow directions. Uncover a story of family, belonging, and the true cost of endless happiness. The park is waiting. Will you join us? You know what? If things keep turning out as cool as they're shaping up, I actually might. Back to the binary code on that second video. When decoded, it reads, visit our website for more fun. So we do that, finding ourselves at giggle.land, a discovery made by Giggleland Discord server user FaceMelter9000. Thank you, FaceMelter9000. And it really is fun. An old website, little bit amateur, some elements scrolling, others flashing. Some of the screenshots from Steam are here, but one is different. The shot of Toli at the character-actor mirror looks like we're viewing her from Elliot's perspective as he stands in the dark. That's disconcerting. But hey, check out these guest reviews, especially that first one. A joy to play. We wish this theme park was real. This game is in-universe of the story. Just a game. Okay, like the story of Giggleland is at its home media, produced by KMW. Our position here on the outside of it, treating it this way, is a layer of the narrative. There's not actually a theme park that inspired this. Anything we observe from here on out has to be in a lens around the player experience and development of the game, not so much in-game. Of course, it's going to be playable, and that's fun, but this is a major component of why the ARG goes as deep as it does, and we've barely begun to see that. This is every bit part of the production and intended experience. Okay, yeah, I'm in. Binary code or not, I'm in. It's shaping up to actually be appropriate use of binary code too, funny enough. Am I excited about a mascot horror game? Is that what this is? Is that what's happening? What is this? That third review. I can't stop smiling. I can't stop giggling. I can't stop being happy. falls in line with the end of the first video, as Elliot spirals into that giggling fit that won't end. We might be able to take this seriously, not just as some scary touch. There are a few links on the page we can visit. If you go to the About page, you'll find everything askew. The character meeting section has 2 illustrations in the wrong place, as it's supposed to be Elliot and Ella, and the arrows don't work. If you open their images in new tabs, you'll find the file names identify Tolly, who we've already seen, and the rabbit is named Rory. We're told, there is no fighting, you will experience no pain, you will feel loved, you will giggle and smile forever. Wish list now. We make games with love and care for all to share. Followed by a reappearance of the screenshots. The contact page is also messed up, and while you can fill out the form boxes, you're also told you can message directly at joshkmw@gmail.com. So that gives us a character, and if you email Josh, you'll get an out-of-office reply with a link in the footer, kidsmediaworkshop.com, which must be the in-game way of finding the company site as well as what it stands for. We're not done with the Giggleland site yet though, so head on back, try the guestbook, and it's a mess, wow. What is this language? The news page is equally screwed, no understanding of what the text is. At least someone's happy. The gallery page is broken, probably because we can already visit that in 2 different pages. Then there's secrets. The text on this button is discernible. Go. Oh, okay. At least there's some ambient music to go along with this ocean of Elliots. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being stressing and 10 being soothing, how do you rate that experience? Personally, I give it a 5. Last note on this page. The title in the URL is fun.html. Very fun, thank you. There's one more clickable item on the Giggleland site, the star image. We're given a page of text from Bowlby's research findings, referenced in Texas Child Care of Fall 2010, page 18. When infants are left to cry it out, their cries go through a predictable sequence of behaviors. Phase 1, protest, loud cries and extreme restlessness. Phase 2, despair, monotonous cry, inactivity, gradual withdrawal. Phase 3, detachment, renewed interest, albeit remote, withdrawn, distant. A baby left to cry it out will eventually stop crying, but it won't be because distress has been eliminated, but rather the baby learns that there is no longer any hope. This is a different kind of scary than we're used to in this sort of project, actually. It's clinical, a calculated infliction of cruelty. I hadn't expected this. Now we have 2 indications of year 2010 in the project. And if we roll back to the first one, Elliot Ella episode 3, and check that video description again, we've still got to reconcile that line, base 64 plus PDF. Base 64 decoding, that's obvious. PDF is a file type. We don't have anything in base 64 yet, but we do have another site we can explore, KMW, Kids Media Workshop, who produced Giggleland. Very strange thing. The moment you get in, it asks for use of your camera and microphone to enhance your experience. I have no idea why it's asking for that. An audio player on the left as soon as you're in will allow you to play fun.mid. Right, that's a lot lower on the stressing to soothing scale. Let's recover with this immediate catch. Our base 64 code centered in red above the online number. Translation is KMW/report_nov_23_1990.pdf. It's a URL extension for the Kids Media Workshop site. Now we're really making progress. Missing person report, 8-year-old Laura Emily Robes. Brown hair, bruise under right eye, left arm in a dark blue sling from a recently broken arm. Last seen wearing a white shirt with pink flowers / navy blue long pants / gray socks and a purple and pink beaded bracelet. As a social worker, Dr. Kelly Terrence, and a history of anxiety reported under treatment with Dr. Valtteri Nadir before undergoing treatment with Dr. Terrence, who she sees twice a week. Laura lives with her mother, Amy, separated from the father, Alan Palerna, who mysteriously had a prominent cut on his bottom lip. On November 23, 1990, at 6:36 a.m., Amy Robes called to report her daughter missing from her bedroom. Officers Caden and Malaru responded and found various belongings missing from Laura's room, including clothes, snow boots, a blanket, stuffed animals, and a drawing pad. The window in Laura's room was slightly open. Miss Robes acknowledges the window was closed when tucking her daughter in the night before. A search in the woods near the house turned up 2 sets of footprints, 1 child, 1 adult. Miss Robes summarized the previous night as follows. Laura had been watching TV from 6:30 p.m. to 8. At that time, Miss Robes turned off the TV, eliciting rage from Laura, demanding the TV be turned on. Wanting to watch past bedtime was normal, but anger was a new response. Laura claimed she needed to watch the end of the episode because she had seen her name at the end of a previous episode and needed to see what happened. Miss Robes turned the TV back on, but the program had already ended. Laura was adamant about watching anyway, but eventually went to bed at 8:30 p.m. At 10:45, Miss Robes went to bed. She said she heard no noises during the night and her only suspect is her ex-husband. Laura's anxiety had increased since Miss Robes filed for divorce on November 5th, just weeks prior to the disappearance. Miss Robes claimed Mr. Palerna had assaulted Laura, leading to her broken elbow. It's noted that their social worker, Dr. Kelly Terrence, has this information, and Laura was closer to Dr. Nadir. This is terrible. From a storytelling level, it's fascinating, but wow. We have a missing child willfully having left the home after claiming to see their name at the end of a program 20 years before the time frame we've been receiving info about a fictional theme park game. I want to know how this factors in immediately. Let's go back to KMW's site and look around.
The ultimate chicken Mexicana is back. Get stuck in while you can.
It said they've been empowering young minds since 1993. That's after the missing report for Laura. Except if you zoom in on the logo, it says it was established in 1990 when Laura went missing. What's the actual start date here? Why the conflict? 4 properties are under their banner: Elliot and Ella, Mother Tara, Terry's Vegetable Patch, and the Captain's Sales. No mention of Giggleland. There's a guest book, a few pages, and a menu on the left, and a privacy policy. Let's try that first. I'm curious. Majority of the page rundown is standard privacy policy until you get to the bottom. Therapeutic services. At the Kids Media Workshop, we work with certified therapists who specialize in child psychology. We take great care to ensure all therapists are board certified and understand the privacy policies we have in effect regarding any sensitive personal information. Should we need to break confidentiality with any of the children attending our program, parents and guardians will be notified of this immediately. We take great care in ensuring the safety and privacy of those who participate in the workshop. We have worked with therapists who have studied under great minds, such as Eric H. Erickson. We thank you for your cooperation. Kids Media Workshop isn't for the production of kids media as entertainment. It's for production of kids' therapeutic media through a workshop that directly involves them. This isn't about cartoons or even edutainment. This is totally different from what it's giving on the surface and just keeps getting further away from first impression. Eric H. Erickson is a real person. He was an American child psychoanalyst and visual artist known for his theory on psychosocial development who coined the phrase identity crisis. He's authored a few books, but his best known and most impactful is Childhood and Society from 1950. He served as a professor at Harvard and Yale, a deeply influential man in the field of psychology and schools of thought, formation of theory, and practice. Remember the article cited earlier from Texas Child Care in fall of 2010? Eric Erickson cited there for his presentation on the 8 stages of psychosocial development, and the relevant stage of the article is the first, trust versus mistrust. Our understanding of KMW increases in the About Us page. We are a nonprofit workshop dedicated to helping children express themselves through artistic expression and channel their creativity. We are a passionate group of artists, animators, and writers who help bring children's stories to life. Founded on the principles of child psychology, our mission is to give troubled kids a healthy outlet for their thoughts and feelings by producing great entertainment for other kids. Because of the unique way our workshop is run, we're able to combine the innocence and energy of childhood imagination with the artistic expertise of our creative leaders. This results in various cartoons and books that are beautifully crafted and carry messages of hope, perseverance, and adventure, values that every kid should understand. Our supervised sessions give kids the tools they need to express themselves through writing, animation, and voice acting. Group sessions are run by a licensed therapist and critically acclaimed animators and writers to help bring stories to life while keeping children safe and happy. Cartoons that reflect values every kid should understand, huh? The way Elliot handled those other kids in episode 3 is in line with how we like to do things over here, but obviously maiming and burying your enemies isn't such an approved therapeutic response in professional methods, so I don't know what happened in that animated piece, actually. It probably started from a therapist-approved place. There's an odd message from the founder, Terry. It's screaming secret message. We all know it, but nothing discernible pops out from the immediately sensible approach. Let's hold on to this. It might get a cipher later. Going to keep the idea that Terry might be Dr. T in mind, and that the only Terry we already know is Dr. Val Terry, Laura's preferred specialist. Also falls in line with the Terry and Terra in the property names. Trying the Our Stories page results in random number generators in every single page element. 1222, 1223, 1224, and what's probably 1225 Christmas Day are listed here. I can't make any sense of this at all. Maybe later. Let's back out the way we came in. Want to try the parent zone? It's more text in line with the mission of KMW, with some testimony from parents who are not named. 2 kids give praise to Debbie and Simon. The kids are named, but not the parents. As for contact, you can go to the page, but you can't send an email. You also can't sign the guest book. That link goes nowhere. So does adding to favorites. That's more of an old internet thing. Let's try accessing the 4 properties on the front page. Elliot and Ella first, of course. Oh. Alright, just as broken as Giggleland. Anybody else got a little chill that something might pop out or change at any second? Not a fan of this page. Let me grab that text for us quick. Elliot and Ella is a cartoon that helps teach children about the powers of kindness and friendship. Elliot is a shy cat who's afraid to stand up for himself. His best friend Ella is a brave dog who's not afraid to stand up for herself and her friend. Join these two as they learn how to rely on each other by being the very best of friends and learning how to stand up against bullies and other negative forces. The cartoon was written by children who had trouble learning to express themselves and speak up. Our team worked with them on identifying these struggles and coming up with relatable characters the children aspire to be. Elliot and Ella truly are a workshopped idea by kids in therapy, which means Giggleland is probably spun out of the same process. Makes sense. The name and concept are quite childish, right? This also gives a lot more reason to love the approach taken in the animation work. It is exactly the child-friendly, teach-the-kid style from character design to voice work and movement. They were trying to be as authentic as possible here. Bravo! The Mother Terra page is missing. Terry's Vegetable Patch works, but lacks images that should be here. Terry's Vegetable Patch was one of the first cartoons created by the first generation of KMW. The cartoon focuses on farmer Terry, a man who moves from the big city to inherit a farm full of talking animals. Watch farmer Terry grow into his own as he learns from his friends how to take care of the farm and even go on some wacky adventures. The children of KMW helped in creating unique talking animals that showcase their personalities. The children want to make a story that wasn't just fun and lighthearted, but also emphasized how to work together and create new friends along the way. The Captain Sales is a page that also exists, even if the images are also broken, but an offer to download a secret treasure map makes up for that, and we'll check it out in a moment. Description for Captain Sales is a comic book where readers go on adventures with Captain Bolster, a pirate who sails the mighty seas with his crew. Discover the mysteries of lost lands and learn about new cultures as the crew embarks on new adventures in every issue. With a love of exploration and wonder, the children built out this expansive world they wish to explore. Each character is heavily inspired by the children who helped create this series to learn more about their backstories and the places they wish to travel to when they grow up. The treasure map is a trip. 3 folders marked blue, green, and red, and the contents are PNG images of dots that have been numbered. Clearly, it's an overlay approach, but what do we apply it to? What if we search for the missing property on KMW? Giggleland isn't here, but we understand the URL conventions for the site. Try giggleland.html as an extension, and here we get red, blue, plus green as the only element on the page. Now there's a clue for the map. As for where we pick up from here, it gets a little wild. Did you know you could hide media files inside of a PDF? Because that's what they did with the missing report about Laura. Let's address something associated quick before we get to that though. Remember how I said earlier that one of the very first codes was for the Discord server? This is one of the most thriving, cohesive, organized ARG Discord servers I've ever seen, and I'd like to give a round of applause to its members, moderators, and admins. There's a lot of discovery, collaboration, celebration, tracking things, and especially doing their best to keep a positive, goal-oriented atmosphere. Giggleland is more complex than a few basic maneuvers of ARG, and working together has brought things into active play a lot. Aurora and her co-players have done a lot as well here, and I wanted to establish that before addressing the missing report file. It was their study as a unit that uncovered and began interpreting what to do about an audio file embedded in the PDF. Problem was, it was password protected. So what could the password have been? On the Giggleland site was one more page we haven't visited, which may have been hinted at through the Steam screenshots. bugreport.html. As soon as it loads in, we even see similar language. So let's try to make some sense of this as well as collect the piece we need to move forward. User input detected /quit. Command is rejected because there's a session lock and we have to wait for process termination. Then an unexpected event observed during gameplay state, like in the Steam screenshot. But that was in the idle state. Still, a new model appears and coordinates are given. Not the same as in the Steam screenshot, mind you. Another message. No corresponding script located for shadowcasting initialization. So whatever's just popped in, there's no script attached for it for exactly what you think, which is casting shadows. User was told to submit their findings with a report tool, then tried to force quit twice and were denied. They tried to call a move command on a null object. I'm guessing they were trying to move whatever spawned in, and were told it wasn't set to any instance of an object. These error codes place the engine as Unity, by the way. Another error report is requested, but they attempt to force quit. Critical process dependency is listed. A message in base 64 that decodes to Sarah. Render pipeline asset is listed as missing or incompatible. Another force quit is attempted, and then the whole thing crashes after running out of system memory due to an overflow. Whatever happened here, it filled the available space to the point of bringing the entire session down and forcing an error report in the form of crash logs. So we have a base 64 code meaning Sarah. Where do we plug that in? Earlier, we did get an instruction, base 64 plus PDF, from Elliot Ella episode 3. If you take the name Sarah and the case number from the PDF's missing report, you get the password to the media file, missing.wave, cracked by Discord user Timus. Gratitude and due praise to everybody in the Giggleland Discord who worked on this one. There was a lot of visible effort to get there.
Happy birthday to our dear We really wanted to celebrate your special day with you. It's a shame your mother took you away before the started. It would have been so much fun. We would have invited all your friends for cake and games. Imagine all the presents you'd have. Maybe when you're older we can find each other. We'll give you a gift you'll never forget. We love you. Happy birthday.
Wow, that's coherent messaging from Elliot and spectrogram imagery. Let's see. Sounds like Elliot is saying Sarah, not Laura. That's distinct, right? And her birthday, what day would that be? Sarah's mother took her away. Laura's mother took her away from the TV before show could end that she wanted to see through to the credits. The spectrograms are here. One of them looks like the odd symbols on the Giggleland website, and the other is a bunch of blocks. Discord players deduced this was a map to use with the capital letters in the founder's message from the KMW site, spelling out the word crying. We've already associated the idea of crying with isolation and babies under therapy concepts for children's behavior, which KMW is all about. Trying this word with HTML on their site gives us this page. Congratulations, you found the key. But what does it open? That's Eric H. Erickson, who we've already discovered. He's the key, huh? Alright, crying. If there's a website page we already have concerning crying and Erickson is the key, then we put the two together. Let's revisit that article from the spot this lead began. Of course, Erickson is mentioned here, but if you go to the references, you'll find Childhood in Society, his most famous book. And if you thought it was impressive already to hide an audio file inside the makeup of a PDF, get this. The treasure map, with all its green, red, and blue dots as numbered images, is meant to be overlaid on the pages of the book's second edition corresponding to the file number, a discovery made by user Sir Cornelius J. The colored dots work with the book the same way the block spectrogram worked over the founder's message. This ARG isn't messing around in the slightest. Few people ever care nowadays to go this deep outside the true puzzles and cryptography ARG divers. I'm more respectful of this effort already than I anticipated I could be heading in. So players did what was necessary, opening up a digital copy and diligently going about collecting the information, following the previous hint of red, blue, plus green on the missing Giggleland page from KMW's website. It produced a pretty long string of text, as you can imagine, and players were left wondering, what the hell do you do with this? It wasn't base 64 again. This brings us to another element I've never seen used in ARG tactics, the first being hiding an audio file in the data of a PDF. A key derivative function cipher. Credit for that discovery goes to the user Trueheads in the Discord. If you use the word crying as the key, which KMW did tell us it was, then you crack a YouTube URL for a video titled The Second Hijack 2010. The description reads, "Where did you take her, Debbie?" And we know Elliot's already accused someone's mother, Sarah's, of taking her away, whoever Sarah is. Alright, step back a moment. Let's examine this a little. Clean up our sense of timeline and who, what, and where.
We all own a lot of clothes. On Vinted, you can sell them with 0 fees to members.
W, a children's therapy by media workshop organization, can't make up its mind on whether it was established in 1990 or 1993. Its founder Terry shares name likeness with Terry of its property Terry's Vegetable Patch and Mother Tara, and Dr. Val Terry, who was Laura's specialist in 1990 up to her parents' divorce. It also coincides with Mr. T as spoken by Elliot. November 1990, Laura was watching TV expecting to see her name at the end of an episode of a show, got denied, and left home through her bedroom window in the night. She was accompanied by an adult or someone with much larger shoe prints, and packed up with the expectation of not returning. In 2010, 20 years later, we have Giggleland, a media property by KMW with expectations of releasing a game featuring their animated characters Elliot and Ella. Elliot is on a file wishing a happy birthday to Sarah, who was taken by her mother. Ella, in this video, the second hijacking, is heard in episode 3 with an audio interruption, and this may be directly related to the question in the description, "Where did you take her, Debbie?" Is it possible that both of these cases are of missing girls under slightly different circumstances, but both were watching TV and experienced something directed at them, a kind of familiarity that promised more? What was the nature of the hijacking here, and what occurred in the first one? Let's observe what precisely happened with the media of episode 3 in this moment. I'm going to play both clips synchronized. You should hear them doubled up a bit. Once the double up stops, that's the missing component.
You won't actually pull the root out. You need to be careful and firm, like this.
Wow, Ella, you're really strong!
Oh, I know you can be strong too. Just remember...
The living room recording clip is slower than the original. Stylistic touch, maybe. Not so relevant, I think. What's important here is that there is an interruption and we can see it reflected in the lighting. That's the hijacking portion. Everything else about the episode sounds normal. Here, let me try synchronizing them better.
You won't actually pull the root out. You need to be careful and firm, like this.
Wow, Ella, you're really strong!
Oh, I know you can be strong too. Just...
Yeah, see it? The way the whole room darkens during that missing audio portion, then the lighting comes back when Ella does. What's missing from the TV in this exact living room is what's important here. Got some good news for you though. We're not done. This video has a written transcript, reading. She speaks to herself. Alone she begins to stand. Reaching her hands, she begs for some light. Answers. That is all she wants. Her travels are only just tumbles. She who speaks, 06. Follow the first letters of each line, and it spells out Sarah, followed by She Who Speaks 06. This clue lines up with a post from the official Giggleland Twitter. Tumble, tumble through the tracks. Tumble along the path and watch. She who speaks is one worth seeing. Follow her and ask her what you may. The use of the word tumble is prominent, and it's used in the YouTube clue too. Is it a Tumblr account? Turns out, yes. Can you find it with the clues you got here? No. Not directly, anyway. No. This is the only point at which I'm going to confirm what the Game Masters probably already figured out during this moment players found this bit and tried to solve it. The roundabout way of discovering this might have been a touch too head-scratchy, since you used such direct language in the transcript that playing with the wording wasn't going to get anyone there fast. And it probably went over a few heads of playing with the wording with other information. If it had been, she is speaking 06, it might have cracked within an hour. You're going to have moments of finding you didn't quite connect a wire strongly enough or had a bolt twisted just a little too tight while running an ARG. It's okay, you still had the pieces on the board that were necessary. This was just a language issue. Anyway, info time. The discovery for this came with a little bit of voice of God hinting towards a Reddit post under r/weird about a Tumblr blog by Sarah is Speaking 06, a girl who seems to be stuck in her house making weird posts. I wonder what life would have been like if I was born in the commune. I'd probably have to do all those chores, which yeah, would suck, but like, at least there would be other people. Maybe I would have had a lot of friends and could have learned to draw with mom. Now that I think about it though, if the commune was on a farm, did that mean they had no Wi-Fi? And then we have sketches her mother made, which... oh, cartoon animals, including a cat with a top hat and a very familiar outfit crossed out. I think we know where this is leading. Then there are these other two shared Reddit posts. Mom said she'll make me a special graduation dinner tomorrow night, which is sweet, but if we're celebrating, why don't we go to a restaurant instead? Besides, I always wanted to go to one. I can't even go for a walk outside my house. The moment Mom can't see me from the window, she taps on it like crazy. It's so loud, too. This is an easy situation to read. Her mother escaped from a commune, or what the people there called a commune, before Sarah was born. Now she's either constantly relocating them, which suggests the "where did you take her" line, or she's been raised outside general society to keep her safe because the members of whatever she escaped are looking for them. Want to guess in advance that this commune might be the real Giggleland, and people don't come back from it? Want to try guessing in advance that Debbie used to be Laura too and she made it out? Want to guess that the hijacking was an attempt to capture them both by exploiting Sarah through KMW Media? I'd like to place all those ideas on the table right now and see if any of them turn up correct. And I'm thinking it's probably going that way on at least 2 points. Let's hit that blog now and see what's going on with Sarah, our first interactable character in the game. And right away, you cannot make this up, opening the Tumblr smack in the center just days ago, a photo of her TV focused on the credits with the copyright for Kids Media Workshop at the bottom. Also, that's a great old CRT set, but it feels like a match for the audio quality we heard in the second hijacking. Prominent focus here on written by Simon Sampson, and if we scroll, we get just before it, character artist Debbie Sampson. That took literally no time, holy shit. Okay, Debbie Sampson, Sarah's mother, didn't just run from a commune involved with KMW, she was the character artist for what I'm guessing is Elliot and Ella, and her husband Simon was the writer. Wait, hold on, Debbie and Simon. Debbie and Simon, the only kids named on the KMW Parents Zone, ages 11 and 13, Debbie and Simon. They were both kids in the workshop. And it gets better. Check out what Sarah wrote just before this. Fuck, I can't stop crying. What the fuck did I just watch? Why was this in the basement? Who made this? Scroll a little further and bingo, Elliot and Ella on VHS, episode Making Friends. Debbie's on the run from KMW, which is a much bigger and insidious workshop than as advertised, and she's been moving Sarah around to keep them safe from discovery. She and Simon were there as children, and they developed Elliot and Ella. Usually, I'd have to go through the whole Tumblr of a character from the start to tell this side of a story, but that was just right there the moment I opened it. And I'm guessing it's because of all the Discord players who've been interacting with Sarah and giving her courage to explore the basement and find out who her mother is exactly. Great work. And actually, wow, it's literally right here too, in this post just before all of that. I'm sorry I've kept you all waiting. I've been scared. I want to know what Mom's hiding, but I'm also really scared of what I could find. You've all been encouraging me the past few days to be strong and that I need to take action into my own hands. I'm grabbing the key tonight when she's asleep. Bravo, Giggleland players. You succeeded in one of the long-standing branches of ARG gameplay, the interactive character in a tough spot. Well done. Alright, so, Kids Media Workshop creates its stuff using the children as designers, and we have the old drawings of Debbie's. Debbie and Simon came up with Elliot and Ella, which was then turned into a professional production by KMW. Debbie fled the workshop, aka commune, and Simon stayed behind. I'll scan the Tumblr quickly for info that helps us understand more. Looks like the friendship gained with players encouraged Sarah at first to ask her mother about the past directly, and she did get some answers. She finally calmed down and told me why she doesn't want me in her room. She doesn't want me seeing her past. She told me she's ashamed of it and she wouldn't want me to see what she's done. I don't know why she wants to keep it though. I tried asking her, but she just said there's some memories she has to hold on to. I asked about the commune, and she told me that wasn't a good place. She said it was great when she was a child, but things changed. She didn't want me to grow up there with those changes. She left with some friends, but she doesn't talk to them anymore. She won't tell me why, and she doesn't want to. She won't let me use my laptop alone. I have to be with her if I use it or it's gone for good. I'll just say my phone is broken and try to keep this a secret. When she was a child, it was great. What changed? And is Debbie actually Debbie? Or is it possible she was Laura and changed her name when she entered KMW? Let's do a little math here. Laura was 8 years old in 1990. 2025, we can assume Sarah is about 18, having just completed high school level education online. That makes her birth around 2007. Laura would have been 25 if she's actually Debbie. Otherwise, if Debbie is a different girl and was 11 right when Elliot and Ella was produced around 2010, the math is impossible because Sarah's birth is before 2010. The only explanation that works outside of Debbie being Laura is if Debbie joining KMW and Elliot and Ella being produced was well before 2010, but I don't see that being the case. What else have we got that might back up the idea that Debbie is Laura? Here's a snippet of answering someone that confirms the theory of Debbie never feeling quite safe in their location. It hasn't happened in a long time, but when I was little I did hear tapping on the windows. Sometimes the door would shake or I would hear what I thought were whispers, but my mom just told me that it was just the wind and the trees. It's been a long time since I heard those sounds, so maybe she was right. There's also a post about Sarah getting a flash drive. Be prepared for a dead drop from Sarah on the run in the future, possibly, in which you can pick up that flash drive. This is probably signaling something like that well in advance. I'm not going to be surprised. Someone tried showing Sarah the audio file with her name, and she claims not to hear her name, but doesn't appreciate being shown scary things. Funny, all things considered. She has graduated her online courses for the normal run of things through high school and would like to go to art college, but her mother wants her to stay and Sarah has no money. When asked if she believes in ghosts, Sarah says, "Yeah, when I was little I thought the house was haunted because of the sounds I heard at night, but Mom just told me it was because the house is old." She informed someone asking about her favorite song that it's Landslide by Fleetwood Mac, the lyrics to which could easily apply to Debbie's point of view raising her on the run. As for the father, I wonder if my dad is still in the commune. Mom didn't tell me when she left, so is he still there? I never met him before and Mom doesn't have any photos around. I've asked about my dad before, but Mom doesn't like talking about him. She really doesn't like to talk about anyone she's known. She never talks about my dad, or her parents, or her uncle, or her cousins. The adults at this commune were runners that would go for supplies while everyone stayed in the village. The kids had chores like cooking and cleaning and taking care of animals, and this barn, like wow, that is too much work. Mom said I should be glad we're not there since I have it so good, but like, at least she went outside. She didn't like talking about her uncle much. She said he was an artist and taught the kids how to draw and express themselves, which is really cool. I wonder if that's what those drawings were. I asked why she left and she just said she didn't like it, which like, yeah, the chores suck, but she got to go outside and have friends. I asked her if her uncle is still there and she said he's probably dead, but like, she sounded kind of happy about it. Was her uncle the adult who escorted her from home that night in November 1990? This would add more evidence to Laura being Debbie. We know there was a pair of adult footprints and she was advised to take items that made sense in the context of leaving for good. Only an adult figure would have recommended that. Mom apologized about not wanting to go out and I decided I wanted some answers. I asked if she was raising me the same way she was raised. She said yes, but also no, which like, doesn't really answer the question. Apparently she joined a commune when she was a kid and lived with her uncle. She told me about some of the other adults, but there were a lot of kids. It sounds like it was a village and she was able to go outside but not leave the area. And, there's that children's book Debbie made, with a scene of a little boy and a little girl and a lesson about gardening. Again, having to do with root systems. Perfect little apples. Gotta give it up for this extra touch too, printing out a book on top of the cartoon work. Don't be surprised if this ends up in a dead drop too if they ever do one. That would be a fun receive. And that, for now, is where it stands. No, actually, that isn't where it stands. I'm not done here. A piece of this picture is bothering me, and I asked myself about it enough that I think I've seen the edge of a sticker and started peeling it back. And now I've got to tell you what's underneath. And I don't mean how the game character Tolly is just an anagram of Elliot. That is weird, and I can't explain the intention there yet, but I've got to bring this to your attention. It does start with Tolly, actually.
What if your money never sat idle and could earn up to 5%?
The entire way through the ARG, we've been told this is a KMW product, right? KMW made Elliot and Ella. They made Giggleland. Why then would they include something as dark, adult, and upsetting to kids and parents as alcohol and pills at a character-actor mirror? Why is there a general horror game vibe all around in this circumstance? Why is there a horror game vibe in the ads for this game by KMW? Because it's a mask-on horror game, Nick. Yeah, I know, it's supposed to be that way, I get that. But look at the whole picture around this game. The ad that led us here, the code it involved, the YouTube video ID code listed as a developer, the busted amateur website for this game using screenshots from the game that are also on Steam, creating a thorough connection. The ARG utilizes that broken amateur website as well as an old, potentially archived and corrupted KMW site, with codes, puzzles, and a document that points us in the direction of Sarah and her runaway mother. And Giggleland was not listed as an actual product under KMW's banner, right? We had to add that to a URL to find that page, which just gave us another clue in the hunt. I've been bringing up the question of Elliot and Ella Media being corrupted as we've been seeing it and wondering what's going on there. But without details that lead us to a conclusion on the matter, we just have to shrug. Ordinarily. Unless you can explain it, and the explanation is plausible. I've said in the past that if you're going the immersion route for an unfiction project or ARG, your greatest show of strength in writing is justifying the existence and utilization of elements. Make it make sense to exist beyond just being a delivery vehicle for info to keep the game going. If you're using a Facebook page or some other kind of means of expression, make it part of the narrative and justify its existence. It's not mandatory, but it takes us a layer deeper in a way that's truly impressive if we understand and agree with the way the game operates in terms of platform and construction by characters. It's solid, thorough writing. What if that's exactly what's happening here? Is Giggleland a legitimate KMW product? Or is it entirely made up with an associated ARG and animated pieces or edited animated pieces, all crafted by a single character or a group of characters in the universe of the story, specifically doing it to harass Debbie and provoke Sarah out of hiding? Why would KMW allow something like this? Why would they ever authorize an entire game like this? Or include such transparent horror in their website? The alternate reality game we've been playing might have been designed by someone from the commune or against the commune, not KMW itself. The only truly legitimate viewpoint in this entire construct is Sarah. And here's another thing for you to think about, okay? We understand through Sarah that Debbie escaped with friends. She no longer talks to those friends. That means somewhere out in this world, if they're alive, there are people who know who Debbie is, who know her background, who probably have an idea where she is and that she has a daughter that she's raising in secret. There can be multiple options for who is creating Giggleland and this media attached to it. But I don't believe assuming it's KMW itself is the smartest route. The game is most likely not a half of the experience that's being built up to. It might be a major component of the grand design by whoever's doing this. And we cannot trust the Elliot and Ella media we've been seeing. The game appears to be an in-universe fictional theme park edutainment sort with not-so-friendly elements composed by warped psychologists whose therapeutic device might just make more trauma. It's bugging out in ways that normally read as being haunted or maliciously coded, and it's like the associated cartoon, Elliot and Ella, is equally affected. But I can't shake this feeling. We're meant to pay far more attention to the conflict of this screenshot in this game, supposedly made by KMW, Kids Media Workshop. The picture doesn't add up. Making a game that turns their own therapeutic cartoon characters into victims in horrors doesn't logically make sense. Putting kids into this gameplay scenario is malicious and transparent. If you want to provoke somebody knowing they came from this background, even if you're not affiliated with the cult, it makes perfect sense. Then you might design a whole crazy info-loading experience around it that leads directly to the daughter you're trying to capture or scare out of hiding, or make curious enough to get out of her home. Oh man, it feels like I'm going out a bit on a limb here, and I'm either going to reach the apple at the end or fall off by trying this angle. But now that I've seen this possibility, I need to lay it out there. I just can't accept anymore that this is actually Kids Media Workshop doing this. It doesn't fit. Don't trust it. Time is going to show us what's happening. It may very well be the entire ARG and Steam game is a character's construction as the driving force of this narrative. Okay, where do we go from here? The most active lead is obviously Sarah, and as our protagonist character, because yes, we now certainly have one, we need to wait until she's ready to act, or encourage her to make a move, after her recovering from the shock. She's really a little frozen right now, but as always, something's going to give. Maybe we could see what that episode was with a phone recording she makes. I'm curious to see it. I've got to hand it to the game masters and writers. I am impressed. I'm invested, I'm excited, and oh my god, I have no idea how you intend to tie the Giggleland game into this in such a way it truly moves with the ARG have and makes sense as existing. Like, you really gotta justify that game as a whole component of this. That's a challenge here, but I believe you're gonna do it. And I sincerely hope that it truly is a half of all this and it converses with the online portion in a way that makes a truly rich experience. I'll be the one to say it if nobody else has yet. This can't be just to promote a game, and the game is successful in sales and that's the end of it. This ARG experience is too good, and there's too much passion and actual quality and thinking behind it. What you have here is an opportunity to do it big time. Seriously, on the quality scale of the indie heroes of the field right now playing in this subgenre. I'm emotionally invested in your success as artists delivering a unique experience on the entire plate of what's gone into this. I am rooting for you to bring it home. It can be so extraordinary. Delay the game if you ever have to find it's necessary to do so. Make sure it comes out awesome and truly unique. This is shaping up as another blow to the end of the tropes and cash grabs era of mascot horror. But you gotta live in the integrity and passion you've shown here. If the impression you wanted to make at the start was that it's another shitty cash grab mascot horror and you trick people, you did a good job according to some of the things that I've seen, and I know you've seen it too, and probably had a little bit of a laugh and a little bit of a worry. But you've got something here that is really shaping up awesome. Giggleland is an awesome new ARG experience, and if as much thought and clever design has gone into the downloadable game that will be released on Steam, it's going to be so much better than just a week of Let's Players and streamers giving it the spotlight. I'm tall enough to enter this park, and when this drops, I'm playing it live on Twitch, and absolutely will have the VOD uploaded to NM Live, where 15 other nights of online investigations have been uploaded in edited, well-paced fashion, including the classic Slenderman series Tulpa Effect, and the previously mentioned Underwater Wonders. If you like Giggleland, you're going to love Underwater Wonders, and I definitely check out Pen Creative Library too. It's all more Nightmind, just done live, and I'll put out word in advance for the playthrough when it's time. Yeah, we're gonna play this. Also, a little heads up from the devs via Discord announcements. You can expect the new website to launch toward the end of February. In the meantime, keep an eye out for more fun surprises to be posted. We've decided not to take down the old website so that new members of the community can still experience it for themselves. We're still at the beginning of what we've been preparing for you. However, some things may take time to finalize, so we sincerely appreciate your patience. So yeah, there's more coming. That idea of a new website is interesting. Wonder if it'll be in-game or out-of-game. Either way, I'm here for it. And another deeply celebration-worthy news drop I had to jump on the mic again to include after finishing my narration. I saw it and I just woke up. I saw it, I had to jump on here for this. The devs have announced through a Giggleland letter that after several questions of whether or not the game will be chapter-based, they want to inform us the answer is no. Giggleland delivers one complete, uninterrupted story. No forced breaks, no waiting between chapters, no disrupted immersion. You'll experience the story exactly as intended from start to finish. They know the score, everybody. I told you earlier I suspected they're very aware of this scene's trends too, and they designed with it in mind against them. Once Giggleland is out, it's the full ticket. Good on you, devs. Make your vision real and show them it can be done this way. Thanks for giving this exploration a chance if you were skeptical. And you know what? I'm never one for wish listing. I just kind of keep track of something I'm gonna maybe buy. But care to join me in wishlisting Giggleland on Steam? Every developer says it helps them a lot. I literally don't know how. Maybe it's an algorithm thing, but hit that up if you're feeling supportive. Hard to subscribe to anything in the ARG for cohesive updates, but you can subscribe here to Nightmind and to Nightmind Live to stay tuned for any updates on this project that I have, messages about the premiere gameplay night, and new Unfiction and ARG explorations all the time. If you want to catch the live stuff as I'm streaming, subscribing to NM Live is the best way to get alerts via my community posts, and if you're on Twitch, follow Nick_Nocturne. That's all for tonight, everyone. Thanks to the creators of Giggleland for making Giggleland. Thanks to all the players.
British purple sprouting broccoli is in season.
Welcome back to Nightmind, friends. And yes, we're still doing cabin fever dreams. It's still spring, and one video wasn't gonna cut it for me. Especially when we've got some wonderful, soul-touching, psychedelic, dark-humored projects out there just waiting for us. One such case, our adventure tonight, is a small production by an equally small and dedicated group of people led by artist Yara Asmar, which gained fast notoriety after uploading its first installment, Mr. Samuel's Tea Time Stories, for good kids and confused adults. Yara Asmar wrote the following pinned comment in the wake of the unexpected popularity of the project. Thank you to everyone who took the time to watch and send in your thoughts. When we posted the video, we did not think it would reach as many people as it has now. We're a small team of artists and workers based in Beirut, Lebanon, who got together 2 years ago during a time that was quite dark for each of us, for different reasons. And working on this has brought us a lot of solace. We are truly touched to see it's also brought some comfort to some of you out there. When we got together to work on this, we had a very tiny budget from a small grant we received and decided to pour it into the set building. It took us a day to set up and 2 days to film the 4 parts. We were locked away from the world in this colored cell of our own creation, and it was as surreal as it was comforting. Every person who has played any role in the making of this film has poured a lot of heart and a lot of their inner world into it. Yara then went on to cite inspirations they've drawn from for Mr. Samuels, as well as addressing the availability of its music. The message ends as follows. We are deeply grateful for your presence in this small world we built and hope that wherever you are, you can share the sadness with us for a moment, and that for a moment, we're not alone anymore. Hugs, the Mr. Samuel and Friends crew.
Oh, hello there. I wasn't expecting you.
You haven't come by in a while. I thought you'd forgotten all about this place.
But you always remember eventually, don't you? It's a pleasure to see your face. Welcome home. Welcome home.
Oh, no, Mr. Samuel. That's the project I just covered, although it's also quite colorful. Tonight, we're visiting your slice of reality that's also threatened by encroaching darkness. With only 4 installments, Mr. Samuel's Tea Time Stories clocks in at just 28 minutes 20 seconds long. Incredibly easy to sit down and watch in one sitting, especially with the official playlist provided. You've also just seen that subtitles are baked right into the work. You won't ever have to question what's being said. This is a special treat. And for those of you who have been craving more work in the atmospheric potency of Wham City Comedy's experiences, this is going to deliver while striking some different chords. You're going to be confused, oddly comfortable and uncomfortable. You're going to worry and put your daily trivialities aside. You're going to think and wonder and feel and wish you weren't. Surreal, provoking, and somehow soothing. It's hard to describe before getting into proper discussion, but I think it's fine to give you Yara Asmar's description. In a wonky universe set within the fake walls of an old abandoned children's TV show, Mr. Samuel and his friends, peculiar, ugly puppets navigating the strange thing that is time, attempt to make sense of it all through stories, songs, and arduous loops of nonsensical chores. A film in 4 parts. French anarchist Laurent seeks colored cells were the first use of modern art as a method of psychotechnic torture. The cells were as inspired by ideas of geometric abstraction and surrealism as they were by avant-garde art theories on the psychological properties of colors. The walls, which were curved and covered with mind-altering patterns of cubes, squares, straight lines, and spirals which utilize tricks of color, perspective, and scale to cause mental confusion and distress. With an emphasis on set building, the disintegrating world of Mr. Samuel manifests as a colored cell through a set that is falling apart. And I believe that's all the intro you need to give this a shot. If it isn't, then I'll tell you right now if you're interested that you should, because this video does not include a walkthrough summary. It's an after-piece examination that trusts your familiarity with the experience. There are Nightmind videos for walkthrough explorations and Nightmind videos for post-experience examinations. This video is the second kind. After all, Mr. Samuel's Tea Time Stories is under half an hour in total. That's far less time than most of my own videos. It's very easy to sit down, experience its full impact, and come back for discussion of the art. I've put the official playlist in the video description and pinned comment, and I'll even remember the info card YouTube has which should be appearing now. You've got just under half an hour, don't you? Please, go watch Mr. Samuel's Tea Time Stories. It supports Yara Asmar and the team who made this. You absolutely will enjoy and feel the project more by first-hand viewing. And truly, this video will not attempt a walkthrough summary as I do with long unfiction projects that warrant it. There aren't any jump scares or difficult moments for those of you sensitive to horror who enjoy it only by having me as a walk-along guide. You can safely watch Mr. Samuel's Tea Time Stories, and then we'll discuss it together. Go on now. The tea's nearly done steeping. Ah, there you are. Back again. I knew you'd be back. Though you look just a bit emotional, if you don't mind my saying so. Hard not to be, isn't it? This is a special project. Even if you don't know in exact terms what it's about, you feel it. You do know. It isn't just weird or abstract, not simply some atmospheric experience. This hits you in places that are understood without words. There are quite a few ways you can read Mr. Samuel's tea time stories, but before we get into any discussion of meanings, let's praise the craft and skill that went into this, starting with the sound. Music, music, music. What atmospheric music, even when it's subtly sliding off beats. It of course evokes a children's show, which is the premise, but in a way that echoes, giving us a sense of space in this void, the eerie emptiness. Mr. Samuel's home sounds, looks, and feels like a place out of time. It brings with it little hints of the regular activity that used to go on here, that children's entertainment soundscape. Once in a while, you'll hear something slightly whimsical, now grown sad, or a touch of Foley related to characters, like a knock at the door before entry that goes unanswered.
Where will I live?
You can't just build your house in people's bones. Besides, I need my bones.
Oh. Okay.
Was it Mr. Snail Mail letting himself in, or someone we'll never meet? At one point, I heard wind chimes attached to nothing and not explained. And the songs, haunting, a bittersweet kind of comfort, and never entirely staying on pace, but in a way that's almost charming. No wonder viewers asked Yara Asmar to put the music somewhere to listen outside the videos. The set design is simple, but so effective in its allure, and as the series goes on, we really get to enjoy the way it unravels and slips into darkness. Even the end, with just 3 elements, is so striking. And for a moment, we witness the way it's changed over time, ending in a position just a moment or two away from disappearing into the void. Puppetry and costume design are delightful. Mr. Samuel's suit is always a pleasant sight, very much the kind of outfit for a kindly older man in a show like this. And the puppets are the perfect blend of attractive and off-putting, providing that cute surrealism, especially in Gloomy Madeline. All these elements come together to give the impression of a children's show losing its grip on understanding of the world, or one that's been left to sink into darkness. The atmosphere and psychological impact of such a construction brings to mind the description by Yara Asmar of the colored cells and their history of use. This is a whimsical and unsettling place, maybe even cruel in its formation. It's so rare and so special when we find anything that grants us access to the emotional pockets of fringe reality that Mr. Samuels evokes. In particular, we may consider that semi-conscious mental liminality of the light fugue state experienced when waking in the middle of the night. Finding a familiar world suddenly feels different. But what exactly is happening here? And who are we in Mr. Samuel's home? This is where interpretation can vary from viewer to viewer, and while its themes and elements can be clues to an intended understanding delivered by the team who brought us the experience, it feels as if Mr. Samuel's Tea Time Stories has multiple readings that are accurate. I do welcome you to head into the comments and express what you felt in the viewing. I'll share what I came away with.
Grammarly doesn't just improve the style of your writing, it also improves your substance. We use AI.
Mr. Samuels, as I understand it, has an overlapping of themes dealing with confused adults. Remember, it's not just for good kids. We, in our position as visitors to this place, are always welcomed back. And in Mr. Samuel's words, after all this time, it's still us. Mr. Samuel can always count on us to be back, even when we forget. And we forget this place every time. But when we're back, we remember. We never really leave this place. We never really could. Good kids usually grow up and find themselves to be confused adults, asking where the happiness has gone, where the restful and energetic days slipped away to. It's easy at times, isn't it, to come back to a familiar and happier place, so simple and understandable in its presentation of the adulthood that was supposed to be inherited. It was simple once, looking through a TV screen. Not so often now. Not until we visit that place again. And when we do, when the safety of Mr. Samuels is revived, what do you think some of the good kids who grew up do?
Dear Mr. Samuel. That's me. time is confusing and I don't know what's going on. How do I stop the horrors? I am terrified. Please make it stop. Sounds like it's time for
Mr. Samuel's tips for good children and confused adults.
Are you feeling confused?
Is time getting all muddy and smudged?
Well, here's what you have to do. Make your bed. Every day, you should make your bed.
Why?
Because it's important. Now, gotta shout at the clocks, because sometimes they get silly.
Confused advice from an older adult than the one asking, when it was supposed to be a solid answer from a reliable, comforting figure. Definitely not helpful, and yet, time and time again, we come back, finding things slipping further away, but keep returning. Because as Mr. Samuel knows, we never really leave this place. Never really could. And no matter how often we forget, eventually we remember. It's hard to not feel at home navigating life. And when you can't find it, everywhere is hell. Can any confused adults be blamed for trying to go back to the place that did feel like home? The issues that used to be fun to explore and explain for good kids are now anxious and sad for the adults who come back. Home, time, death, and loss of freedom. Is this what happens to the good things from childhood left behind? Do they just sink into darkness as the years go on? Did a lot of bad time create this? Maybe it's not so much about trying to restore a sense of home lost for us, though. Maybe it's Mr. Samuel and his sense of home slowly unraveling and his state of confusion that provokes our sadness. Throughout the series, we see the evidence that Mr. Samuel is a confused adult too, and ideas about the abstract nature of home, time, the sun, and the inevitability of death occupy his consciousness when we meet with him. Dr. Delight died of old age, and Mr. Samuel is old too, time no longer on his side. His confusion in several discussions is evident. His answers to complicated things are simple, even for a kid's show. Reality, his reality, unravels a little more each time we visit, and the way he talks with his friends seems like the way an old confused man may talk with a very specific set of people while residing in a home that doesn't feel right. The dementia or Alzheimer's reading is very clear to understand, especially once given a very important clue in the final episode. Gloomy Madeline is gone, but her puppeteer isn't, showing up to operate another character. As the clock, she's been able to track time, but even that matter of trusting Madeline with time is difficult for Mr. Samuel. Altogether, she seems like a secret handler or assistant. The idea of a caretaker in a nursing home, having menial conversations or entertaining the confused aging inhabitants who insist on things like shouting at the clocks to keep them in line. And seen in that light, a new understanding occurs. The constant surprise in Mr. Samuel and even Miss Madeline that we keep coming back. It's a heavy toll for anyone who ends up in a nursing home and their family members to deal with the matter of visitation. Long stretches of time can occur in which no one visits. And if the family does visit, will it be remembered? Will it even be meaningful? Is the person visited going to be all there or more there than before? Will it just be another series of questions about where they are, or protests about what they want and where they want to go? There are things that always seem to help. Certain memories, music that they loved and will immediately act in recognition of. But the condition makes itself known through circular discussions, nonsensical questions, dead-end talks. Mr. Samuel wants to go, but he doesn't know where. He talks to people when his visitors aren't around and can't explain who he's talking to. He can't remember where the sun goes even if it's around. He gets a little frustrated when he can't answer questions for himself. His friends, aging just as he is, are dying. Given enough time, he will join them. And even through the confusion, he knows this. Reality falls away. Time goes on. The confusion reaches a peak. The darkness closes in. The idea suggested all along of a colorful prison that results in psychological torture is finally understood. A disorder, taking memories and surety and leaving only a void. Over the credits for the finale, we have our only major musical repetition besides the intro, the funeral song. Mr. Samuel knows the end is near, and it seems he knows that we know. It's not just Mr. Samuel who's going to leave his home. In our position, trying to come back time and again to a place we called home as good kids, are we actually ready to let him go? What do the confused adults do when the only adult who had all the answers has become confused? And what do they do when the comfort of his presence goes too? We gather as a party and share the sadness for a moment. And for a moment, we're not alone anymore. The team who created Mr. Samuel's Tea Time Stories brought us a truly special work of art. Surreal, darkly humorous, comforting, haunting, bittersweet, beautiful, and painful. This is a fever dream we didn't know we needed to experience. Thank you, all of you, for your efforts, dedication, and loving performances. Thanks to all of you for watching too, and to all of my supporters on Patreon, who make it possible to bring you awareness of more projects like Mr. Samuel's Tea Time Stories, and to publish listings of new and undiscovered unfiction projects and subversive artwork on the Nightmind Index. You can support the mission of Nightmind by joining the Patreon for as little as $2 a month. It truly goes a long way, and I'm deeply grateful. Thanks as well to everyone who joined me in live streams to watch Mr. Samuel's Tea Time Stories for the first time. I actually have the VOD for the first 3-episode exploration on my VOD channel, Nick Nocturne Astroline, in a double feature with a cool puppetry and stop-motion project, Maple Underground. There are plenty more VODs available right now too, including a tour of the Mystery Flesh Pit National Park with special office guest, Shia Bun.
Shia, this design is a technological marvel. They really fucked up here.
Welcome back to Nightmind, friends. And welcome back to Cabin Fever Dreams, with the most famous project I've ever covered during this special spring season thing that I do. And for good reason. Welcome Home was first covered on March 21st of last year. So now we're just a bit past the 1-year mark, and I think such an occasion calls for not only the review of the update that dropped this past March, but a quick summary of the story so far, for anyone who's forgotten or any new neighbors visiting tonight. The in-depth videos I have are available, but for those who just want to get right in with a quick catch-up of the most important points, I will be happy to assist. Right this way, follow me, come along. Welcome Home appeared to us on the website for the Welcome Home Restoration Team, a group of people dedicated to recovering any and all media and information pertaining to a lost 70s puppet and cartoon show called, naturally, Welcome Home. Now, why was it lost, and how come nobody remembers it? Maybe it has to do with the envelopes of existing media that were discovered, full of paint and ink, obvious attempts to destroy the material inside. Why the destruction attempts? If the hidden text on the website at the time showing a team member's spiral into madness gave us any clue, it's because information pertaining to the show was a cognito hazard, the likes of which would landed in the crosshairs of the SCP Foundation. When I unwrapped the first letter, I felt it, the team member wrote. I heard it. Open, open, open. I want it out. I'm going to get it out. Does it hurt? This, among a few other elements like it in your classic case of sudden aggressive mental infection by anomalous forces, scattered across this lovingly crafted website full of beautiful artwork that, yeah, really does evoke the idea of a genuine old TV show that was popular enough to have a lot of merchandise and promotional art. It even included a neighborhood map, introducing us to the characters, their houses, and places of business. There's the ever-happy Julie Joyful, who talks to flowers. Sally Starlet, a natural performer. Poppy Partridge, a whirring hen who loves to bake. Eddie Deer, the hard-working mailman. Howdy Pillar, the charismatic general store owner. Barnaby B. Beagle, a comedian. Frank Frankly, a tightly dressed friend to all insects. And the central character, Wally Darling, who lives inside a living home, called Home, at the very center. Don't mind the black goo trailing from under Home's door, but do mind the fact that you could click on it and see this image, suggesting that the lurking horror present in the concept and physical media of Welcome Home managed to find its way through the newly created website and has a new point of access to this world, and may have influence over Wally Darling. There were plenty of doodles on the site's guestbook, and a follow-up stream exploring viewer discoveries in the wake of the first video revealed the file names for the doodles were replies to messages. But who was doing this? The nature of the messages seemed to be out of character for a restoration team member. The information we needed came from out-of-place letters throughout the site that, when arranged in certain patterns and placed at the end of the URL, led to new pages, like this one, showing Wally Darling hiding in wait for us. He could tell we were there, but couldn't see us somehow. We were urged to stay quiet if we could see him. Digging through other secret pages revealed Welcome Home media, like segments of scripts, and eventually led to more surprising elements, like Wally singing with an echo and TV static in the background. At this point, there were no secret pages for any other characters. One item of note, from the news page written on February 25, 2023, the members of the Welcome Home Restoration Project received an offer to showcase their findings about the show at a gallery, held by a professional exhibitor who called themselves the Question Answerer. The paragraph describing this also showed signs that the writer was not well, definitely in the throes of an anomalous spell. We wondered at this point if they'd made contact yet with Wally. In July, a major update came to the site, including everything the team could put up about the Welcome Home Gallery showing. In Universe, the company who made the show was called Playfellow Workshop, so it was labeled the Playfellow Workshop Exhibition. The update also came with a lot of new elements, discoveries of old merchandise like cast records, toys, and small bugs all across the sites, which you could click on to go to secret pages containing videos. Every video was live action, with characters speaking in some kind of scene, but out of view, creating immediate confusion about what we were watching. Were these scenes from the show? Why would we be viewing things at this angle? Why did things distort and end whenever someone spoke to Wally directly? You could also catch doodles being drawn live, which led to new links containing records. Who was leaving these behind?
That's what an eye looks like. My eyes are black. What color are yours?
Wally was speaking to us and would go on to say a number of concerning things, like how there were so many new eyes he had now, and still couldn't see. In other pages, you could explore the new media uncovered, much of it audio allowing us to hear the other characters at length for the first time. One peculiar merchandise item was the talking telephone toy, with every character's button working, except Wally's. But for us, the audio played.
Hello? 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 Ha ha ha. I'm only kidding. I know you're there. Did you like my joke? I think you were going to say yes. Ha ha ha. You know, it is hard to hear you think through this funny phone of mine. It is as though you aren't speaking at all. Maybe it is just a little fuzzy, like me. Speaking of, do you know who I am? Oh, no. Well, that's not neighborly at all. We've never met before. But don't worry, even though you and I haven't spoken before, I've seen you every time you have looked into my eyes. I want to know, what did you see? I hope you saw a friend, but I'm not sure you saw a name. Stand still. Let's start over. Ring, 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 click. Hi, I'm Wally. I'm so happy to finally meet you. I think you're the absolute most. Uh-oh, I have to go now. Everyone is probably thinking about that strange phone call. It is funny to think about. Ha ha ha. Don't worry though, neighbor. It will be a little joke between you and me. You have to go too. You have work to do. Remember, until you hear me again, keep your smile merry and always know that I love you very much. Goodbye.
On the page for the Playfellow exhibition, we got to see how the gallery show went, with all the media put on display, including a replica puppet of Wally. Notes at the end of the page mention that the exhibition was a success. And still, no one was able to say they were familiar with the show. Hidden on this page was a secret link in one of the repetitions of the word answer. It led to a photo of a worksheet someone was using to get a password, 5 characters, and mentioned the phone. It was absolutely driving this person mad. If you click through on the photo, you'd be presented with a welcome home themed safe with some black mess on it. This prompted a password requiring the first letters of the character names that were answers for the worksheet from the exhibit. Upon entering those, a new and very rewarding page appeared, showing a breakdown of the normal site and a whole lot of the black creeping in. The writer described a dream they had when they began working on the Playfellow exhibition. Wally sitting at the foot of the bed with a rotary phone ringing, just like the talking toy telephone. He stared, waiting for the dreamer to pick it up, but they couldn't figure out how to move. They continued getting phone calls, or kept hearing a phone ringing, all day sometimes. It wasn't their phone, and they thought it was a prank by other site staff, tearing up the workspace but failing to find the source of the ringing. They couldn't figure out anything in regards to the noise or the show. No one questioned had any answers, and for someone working for the question-answerer, or the answerer themselves perhaps, not even exploring everything the restoration project team gave helped. They could still hear the phone ringing as they wrote. A series of images were provided then, showing the back area of the exhibit contained more items related to the show, and some of the media was rather dark. There were emails back and forth between the exhibit team and the restoration team, including a note to get the safe code, which held activity prizes. The email in particular was asking the website team for the code, and they were just given the worksheet, with blacklight text on the page that read, "Wally Darling." Notes were given to put on gloves before touching any art, and some used gloves had evidence of black gunk on them, the same that seemed to be affecting the exhibit. Another printout about the team's restoration effort had a blacklight message. "Everything is so disgusting to touch. Sometimes the mail doesn't come for weeks. I want to rip into everything I have. My head feels so muddled too, ever since I opened that envelope." Another email exchange urged the exhibit staff to touch nothing with their bare hands, and mentioned that if a substance begins to grow on anything delivered, please place it back in the box it was shipped in and return it. If any of the staff experienced nausea, dizziness, or fatigue, they shouldn't be alarmed. So, not just mentally infectious material, but physically. The question answerer provided a journal entry detailing what was going on behind the scenes and mentioning how the restoration team sent their research notebook. The answerer was sure it must be an elaborate prank. Nobody had ever heard of Welcome Home, and there was more of that stuff on the walls. The phone kept ringing. A photo showed 2 research notebooks provided, and the cover of the first isn't comforting. The one on the left is from the website team, the one on the right from the question answerer. The website team's notebook seems to start just as we were told it all began, a desire to catalog a strange discovery. At the bottom of the secret exhibition page, we see a link and a spot of the black substance infecting this area of the site. It's in here. An error page appears, but wait around and Wally provides a new drawing.
Let me in.
Exploring the secret pages from before also gave new information, like the live-action segments that began lining up as if it was all in the course of a single day, and other Wally messages. This one in particular connects to the previous information.
Why won't you answer me, neighbor? Why can't I hear you? You know me. You do. Please open. Let me in.
Finally, in collecting all the insects across the site and the live-action sections, something becomes quite clear. Not only was it a day in the life of the Welcome Home neighbors, we were looking through Wally's eyes for all of it, as he stared off into a fixed point, like a puppet left sitting alone. And the events didn't seem at all to fit a script for the show. The implication was startling. Welcome Home appeared to be a universe unto itself, which seemed impossible, but so was everything else so far in relation to it, from the merchandise to the evidence of real-world events, like a live talk show interview. Those who speculated that an update would come in October around the anniversary of Welcome Home's in-universe premiere were correct, and it arrived on Friday the 13th. On the landing page, Home was dressed up for Halloween, and on the front page, so was Wally. You could find all sorts of fun items across the site related to Halloween, like pages from a Welcome Home cookbook and a Wally Darling costume. The main draw, though, was the recovery of a full storybook record. In the tale, everyone shows up to Sally's for a costume party, and they end up sharing scary stories. But hers, which the restoration team claims they couldn't hear due to a record defect, is the best.
The ultimate chicken Mexicana range is back. Less Mexican standoff, more Mexican sit down.
Did you know that your favorite productivity solutions are free for eligible?
You'll all be quivering with fright at my tall tale.
Sally snatched the flashlight out of Wally's hands and aimed it underneath her face. Everyone leaned in close to hear.
Have you ever wondered why it is we stay indoors every night?
To get a beauty rest?
So we sing each other goodnight on the phone before bed?
Oh, so we can sort our stamps.
What? No, sometimes, and no. It is because this town is rumored to have visitors at night. Something from deep within the forest, far beyond the hills and mountains. No one knows what it wants or where it's going. Just that it is persistent. Just that it arrives here. So many stories have risen about their origins. But I know what it is searching for. What it is searching for. What it is searching for. What it is